So my name is Julio Perez. For all those who are looking at me for the first time, I came to the United States in 1994. Since then, I have lived in Massachusetts, and I we formed the National TPS Alliance in 2017 because of the Donald Trump's struggles, which we are still going through that. Nothing has changed. The only thing that changed is that the way that we are working now. We hope to be more to be heard in a very better way than it was in the past. And so the alliance has been working for 4 years constantly to keep the TPS profile up on the air so that we are not forgotten by the legislators. And we have done so many activities, national level and local level in the states. We cover about 32 states. That's the number that we have. Let's say that we have 35 committees. At least in those states, there is one in each one TPS committee. And the activity that we are organizing is for September 21st. It is something similar like the march we made in 2019. It was February something in 2019. So we are planning to do something similar with the COVID-19. Now we don't know how it's going to be, if we will be able to achieve a big number of participants, but we are going to do it. We are working to have the permits in DC, the police, the city, and all the logistics that we will need. And that is the reason why we are looking for support from different organizations, different communities, different allies that want to help us somehow. Anything is more than welcome, and we really appreciate your time, your support, and the time that you are investing in this meeting. But it is this year in the United States is the year of the immigrants, and there is a lot of pressure in the Senate. There is a lot of pressure for the president. There is a lot of pressure for Congress, and we are moving to see if by September we get this done. If we don't get this, the permanent residency for these 12 countries now, it won't be possible next year, and other few years will go by so that we achieve something. So that there is a lot of things are happening right now, and we believe that if we keep going, that's way we will hear something good by the end of September. That's what senators are talking about publicly in the news and interviews. And DACA, farm workers, TPS, and essential workers are together, and we hope to keep that way until the end of September. That will be the truth. And that's why we believe that the march is going to be very important to do it in those days, because according to the person that takes the political agenda in the National TPS Alliance, she says that in those days is when the stronger activity will be in the Senate. And that's pretty much what I will share to you, the speaking summarized activities. But if you have any questions, or if Doris would like to add something else, I will be more than happy to answer your questions.
What's happening right now, and why the sense of urgency?
Yes.
I know that Julio mentioned September, but they really have a hard deadline right now because of the court case. October 4th is essentially if nothing happens, that's when TPS will expire because of the federal court case, Ramos versus Nielsen. And I wonder if it's worth describing a little bit of what's that, but also what's happening in the Senate and the procedure that we believe will take us to the final line.
Yes, good idea.
Yeah, related to the litigation that we have, it has been in a process of 2 steps. First 60 days, another 60 days came up from our legal team and the president's legal team, and then 60 days, the second 60 days went by. So right now they are negotiating directly what they are going to do with the TPS, what the solution will be, and they still do not have an answer. What we know is that October 4th is the deadline for the automatic extension that the courts gave us. And we truly believe that if from by the middle of August there is no answer, another automatically extension will go for 9 more months. That is, or unless that before that they come with another decision like renegotiation of TPS, for example, or anything else that could happen. With it could be automatically extension or redesignation. Nothing to do with the permanent residency. That belongs to the Senate, and that's what we are moving 2 things at a time. It might be that we have the redesignation or we have an automatically extension, but the deadline is October 4th. We should hear something before the end of August. And that's how we are so far right now with the process.
Hi, I'm Jennifer from Customary and Ella in Austin. Question: what has changed under the new administration? How have things shifted that have made this look more possible?
Well, so far the only thing has changed is the negotiation that they have been open to have with our legal team and the president's lawyers party. So that's the only thing that has changed so far. Nothing else until now. We hope that things change for better in the near future, because the limbo that we have for 4 years is still the same. There's no difference, unless that they do a redesignation of TPS, which means that we will go back to the every 18 months. And in the meantime, the process for permanent residency continues, and or any automatically extension will happen for 9 more months, and the case continues. But I see this very impossible, because it is the second automatically extension from the 9th Circuit Federal Court. And we know for sure that the courts cannot take us to the permanent residency, but it is giving us time to do other things. That's the only thing, but nothing has changed, Jennifer. But thank you for your question. I hope I gave you a good explanation or a good answer.
What can the sister cities do to be most supportive?
Okay, that's a logistic question, but thank you so much for putting it on the table. We have how can I explain this to you? We have a logistic budget for September 21st, which is includes hotels, food, transportation, flights. But the most common that we have to deal with that, so one way or the other, is the hotel and the transportation. I know that we already have, I heard from the organizers in DC that they already have a reservation for seven vans, minivans, 14 passengers minivans, and to move people from the airports. And the hotel we have been using it for 3 years in a row. It is in College Park. It's a Holiday Inn. It's very accessible, and they know how we work with them. So I understand that the reservation, it is for 150 rooms, and that's why we are looking for. And beside that, the Alliance will be Saturday, Sunday and Monday, 19 and 20th, will be in meetings to recall everything, to restart all over again, to bring energy in the communities, so that when we go back to our places, we go with a clear mind and willing to continue this journey. So that would be that we have to buy food for them for 2 or 3 days, at least the breakfast for the March day, and that's one of the things that we have to cover.
So you need to think of this like a whole 3 days of activities. It's essentially a convention, right?
Mm-hmm.
There'll be representatives of the committees that meet up the 2 days prior to the march. The march is essentially the culmination. That's the big event on Tuesday. They meet and strategize and make adjustments and update everybody on the litigation at the federal court. And they talk about the legislative process. At this point, it's mostly the reconciliation process. But also, Monday they flawed um, uh, Congress or call members. I don't know what they're gonna do this year to say, hey, we're here, we're still here. You really need to do something. It is urgent that you do justice for TPS families. Um, and then on Tuesday, that's when everybody comes into town uh, to participate in the march and the rally.
I was wondering what the legislative strategy is in terms of, you know, at the grassroots level. Who are the key Congress people who would be the ones to? I mean, of course, you know, we want to get Schumer, but you know, what are the other Congress people, and what are the pressure points?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you so much. We have been thinking about Mr. Durbin. He is the president of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, and he's from Illinois. He's the other powerful man that he speaks only about DACA. I mean, his legacy has been for years fighting for Dreamers, which is wonderful. But lately, he has been forced to include TPS because other sectors are calling him and letting him know that. And then he became with the group of three: farm workers, TPS, and Dreamers. But the senator's Cinema from Arizona is another person that is kind of far in this process, and we are trying to touch her there in the state in Arizona, and I think that with Mr. Schumer, we have been calling. We had a campaign for 2 months calling senators to ask them to keep these three groups and the draft that they have, so that beside those two, I think in general, what we are talking about in the alliance is that every committee in each state continue calling them, makes the campaign again until the end of August, until the third week in August is a good time, so that from wherever you live, that would be the other support. If you live in New Jersey, if you live in New York, if you live in Maryland, in any state where you live, if you will please call the senators and tell them that we want to be there in the reconciliation package, that because the parliamentarian woman is the last one that is going to give the final answer, and that will happen sometime in September. She's going to say, okay, TPS, go out of this package. Farm workers, go out of this package, and we will not probably leave the whole group of Dreamers. They might say something different, or they do not leave anyone in the package, reconciliation package, so there will be no migration process there. So that's very important. That the other thing we are asking to our allies to call every senator in the states. I know they have become public saying that just this afternoon I was watching the news program, and Senator Schumer was speaking very optimistic. Senator Padilla from California on Sunday gave a public statement saying that they are negotiating with the parliamentarian person in charge of this. But I think in general, calling the senators in each state would be such a good action to do.
Mm-hmm. So Julio, is the key demand that permanent residency for TPS recipients as opposed to just renewing TPS? Or is there other specific demands?
No, that is then is the demand is the permanent residency now. Yes, for the three groups, we are now together, permanent residency for TPS, for Dreamers, and for farm workers.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it has not changed. So that we are still, the TPS redesignation would help us to stabilize our lives for 18 months, but we would be in the same situation. It will be wonderful if it gets to us, so it will help us to be stable for a few months in the time we are continuing this.
Right. And if it were to succeed, would the process be something being reported out of the Judiciary Committee and then being voted on by the Senate? It sounds like the Senate is the key chamber here, right? Is what you're saying?
Yes, correct. Yeah, they were talking today in the news that the sometime next week they're going to do an audience, a hearing for a vote to start the process.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they said today. That the first hearing will be next week, and they are advocating for the whole Senate to become with the first vote and see if it keeps going.
I think
Thank you.
they're trying to get it into the reconciliation package.
They are working with that right now and see if it moves forward.
If I could chime in, the good news is that we already met with the staff of Senator Sanders, who's the chair of the budget committee, I believe. And they agreed to integrate TPS, Dreamers, undocumented farm workers, and also essential workers, and create a path for residency through the reconciliation packet. But they have been very clear from the beginning that at the end of the day, what's going to matter is the decision from the Senate parliamentarian. They got derailed with remember that Bernie was fighting to include raising the minimum wage to $15. So the parliamentarian derailed all that. So at this point, he's being very cautious as to how he's talking to the parliamentarian and providing as much information as possible, arguments that essentially give no room for the parliamentarian to say, oh, no immigration matters can be included in the reconciliation process. I will also add, going back to the previous question of who are important targets, there's a couple of people in the House, and one of them is Representative DeLauro, I believe, in Connecticut, who's also the budget committee chair from the House. So we're going to be talking to our Connecticut friends, including Sister City friends, to put pressure on Representative DeLauro, to keep, because when both chambers, come up with a clean version of the reconciliation packet, we want to make sure that these things are also both in the House and in the Senate. The members of the Judiciary Committee are very, very, very key because they're the ones who may, when it comes to pushing and shoving, they may, fall into the trap of, okay, we can only keep Dreamers because Dick Durbin wants it, and we'll kick TPS holders out of the process. And we don't want to get into that. So
Right.
putting pressure on the members of the Judiciary Committee is also very, 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 very critical.
Just permit me just one more question. I'm just thinking of us in Maine. So Susan Collins is on the Appropriations Committee, and I was wondering, is that a committee that's in play in the reconciliation process? Is it worth talking? I mean, is she an important vote in this, or is she just another Senate vote?
She is, Dennis, she is very important because they have a rank in the Senate. You know, they are very important senators. And unfortunately, I have been working to find out CPS recipients that live somewhere in Portland or other cities in Maine, but the number is very low. The number of TPS people up there in the north is really low, and I was not successfully, but I will continue in the future. But in November, when we went up there with the bus, the Journey for the Justice,
Yep.
we had a good rally, but we haven't been able to do anything else since then. It's very tight because in order to have a meeting that we were planning to have a meeting with Senator Collins there, we need to have at least one or two TPS recipients willing to participate and tell her, okay, I live here in Portland, or I live here in Maine, and you are my senator, and I am asking you to represent me and support my situation. But unfortunately, we could not do that until now. But she is very important. And then today, Schumer had 2 or 3 Republican senators that have been on the same page with him to work in this, and they were talking about moving the process the way it is with the immigration process included.
Mm-hmm. Right, but is the path for this reconciliation bill specifically, does it go through appropriations, or is it a judiciary committee? Or I just don't understand what the legislative path for it is.
The reconciliation process doesn't have to go with both bipartisan votes. They could do it only with the 50 Democrats plus the vice presidents. But
Right.
it seems, the way I understood today, it seems that they are looking forward to have the other 10 votes from the Republican side. And that's what Schumer is working with, because it'll be the legal and normal thing to do for them. That's the way I understood it.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis, I don't know the answer to that question either, but we could certainly ask the legislative experts and the National TPS Alliance to find out. There's a woman she's like the guru of walking the hallways in Congress, and she's the one who actually is part of the negotiations, both with the lawyers that are following the federal case, but also the team that is working on the policy, the legislation. So we'll ask.
Great, thanks. Yeah.
Nevertheless, it doesn't hurt to talk to Susan Collins. And by the way, because recently Jose Palma, the coordinator from Massachusetts, the TPS committee in Massachusetts, and some other people and myself participated in a town hall style meeting of the Maine agribusiness coalition. I can't remember, and they were all saying we need to protect the dairy industry. There was some other industry that they were talking about where TPS holders, farm workers are instrumental. If nothing happens to those workers, the dairy industry and a lot of the farms are gonna go bankrupt, literally. That's what they were talking about. So I'll try to dig up that information, because they actually put out a statement. It was a ton of business people talking to Susan Collins and the other guy from Maine, Vermont, Angus King. No.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Maine,
right?
Maine.
So,
yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
another possibility in Maine, I don't know if anybody's looked into this or not, but it seems like there's a large Somali population in Lewiston, and perhaps I'd be surprised if there were no TPS recipients there.
I think I would like add it's very important for us keep our numbers in the marching in September 21st. Like many people, as much as many people we have will be great. even, you know, like we're not necessarily looking for TPS holder, we're looking for the community to support us. If you can move people, we will happy because we need put a pressure in the Congress in that week. Thank you so much for taking the time, and you know, and I think it's we live in this nightmare for a long time. Like we hope this year we found the light in our life, and thank you so much for be able to support us.